Okay, so I've let it dry here a little bit in order to start adding a little bit more on top, and I'm going to add just a straight black, and I'm going to take that black. You can use ink wash for this, but black watercolor works fine too. Again, the more water I have on here, the thicker that black is going to be, the more you're going to be able to make that contrast between the background layer and this foreground layer that we're adding with the black here. And I'm just kind of adding like a ground level. That little dot is okay. I do recommend maybe not putting your cup of water up above your paper if you're reaching across for the paint. Keep your water near your paint as much as possible so you don't get those little dots like I had there. But I can go ahead and cover that up. That's the beauty about painting and coloring, is that you can kind of make it up as you go for the most part when you're just kind of making things up from the mind. If you're using reference, you know, you might want to make it a little bit more accurate, but it's still your piece. It's still your art. You can do whatever you want with it. A little bit more water. You can see how it's kind of getting a little splotchy there. All right, now we're just going to add in, again, I'm going to cover this up here, so I'm going to add just a, kind of add a little tree coming up from our foreground. And I like to use these flat brushes again because you can get this nice curvature to it. Depending on how you're holding your brush, you can either make it really thin or really thick. You can see it kind of bleeding in here. And you can use different sizes of brushes. You don't have to stick to one brush the whole time. I've got some thinner ones here that we can go with. Find a good flat thin brush, and we're going to use this just to kind of add in some darker lines, kind of outline almost some of these other little branches. And again, just kind of add that, just those harder edges kind of add more of a sharp tone to it. Now I have a fan brush. These are really nice for layering specific type of like grass or anything like that. You can add in some cool little streaks, basically. Get a little bit more water on that one. But you can just kind of add in some nice little streaks. These are just simple techniques. I don't really like to call them tricks. Some people say, oh, I know this cool trick. It's a technique. Anything that you use is technique. There's no tricks. There's no magic involved. It's just learning how to do certain tools in a certain way. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we'll add in a little bit more. And I'll show you how to kind of lighten it up a little bit. All right, so we let this dry up a little bit more, and now I'm just going to add in some little highlights, kind of show you how we can add in some highlights to go over these darker colors. We've got a nice contrast with the black and this lighter background. You can always add more elements. If you want to add more trees, that's fine, but for this quick demo, I'm just going to show you how we add in some lighter elements on top of these dark. Now you can use a couple of different options. I've got these nice colored pencils. You want something a little bit heavier, a little bit more of a Prismacolor type of colored pencil as opposed to like the heavy lead ones, or you can use a pastel crayon or marker or chalk, and you're just going to kind of brush little, again, make sure it's dry. You don't want to do this when it's light. You can see that might work depending on what kind of paper you're using, how heavy your paper is. Some of this is going to show through better than others. I just like to use a simple colored pencil to add in some different texture to show some depth of this, maybe grass down here, some of these blades of grass. And again, you might have more elements on your page around here, and that's awesome. We're going to use this as our light side source. Maybe the sun's coming up right around there. And you don't want to, you're not going to get too much out of this unless you're using like an acrylic paint or another paint over top of it. But that's just one quick way to kind of add a little bit of extra elements to your painting there.